Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
From Le Mans, welcome race fans, one and all back to Green Flag TV. This afternoon, we're ready to duke it out once again to the French countryside as we go racing for round number 9 of the ASRL Xfinity Series presented by Purple Haze Autosports. Bonjour and bonsoir, and welcome to Green Flag TV. My name is Lolo Rempel alongside Scott Rankin. We are bringing you all of racing action from the beautiful French countryside. Scott, when we think of Le Mans, we don't often think about stock cars, do we? Well, we got 16 of them ready to go ripping around this 8.4-mile road course. Of course, one of the most famed street circuits in the world, home to the 24 Hours of Le Mans endurance race.
I wouldn't say streets. Streets are probably a bad introduction to this road course racing, but in true open road kinds of fashion. And the interesting thing, as we say, I'm gonna do my intro in French. We talked about this about 30 seconds, so I gave Nolan no prep time, but bonsoir et bienvenue à Le Mans.
Well, you clearly know more French than I do, unfortunately, which is unfortunate because I'm the Canadian in the group, so you'd think I would know all the French here, but apparently not.
That's what I was throwing to. I tried to give you. I went after your heritage.
You tried.
And I tried.
You really tried.
If there is ever going to be an opportunity for you to witness the local fans and really bring them into it, this was your opportunity. You failed. That's not on me.
Well, what we have not failed is updating our point standard for this week. Joshua Hagee right now for ESGI Motorsports sits on the top with Austin Call back at the number 2 spot. Of course, it's the look back, though, to 10th place with Nate Morris right now. About 5 points clear of Travis Fleming. Both cars are here this afternoon. So, once again, we get set to see who's going to end up being winners. Sorry, Nate Morris actually not present this afternoon, so Travis Fleming should be able to fight his way up and into that final bump spot for the top 10. Matt Williamson also not present this afternoon, so it looks like after this weekend, we're going to be having quite the shakeup, it seems, for that last spot into the chase.
Yeah, and it's gonna, there's a number of drivers, and you have a look at the list of the drivers that have turned out across the season as well. We've had such a big roster. Some of them not in attendance, so it's a big opportunity for those guys that have showed up here tonight and are going to challenge themselves to really put their foot forward. I mean, we were talking about before the broadcast, actually, this is probably one of those tracks that a lot of American drivers actually don't have it. I would counter that. Probably the main tracks that guys in America actually do have, or oval races do have, tends to be Spa, 24 hours of Spa race, and Le Mans is probably the other one. I see a lot of people that wouldn't normally have a go, and one of the biggest reasons about that is the simplicity of it. The challenge that the Nürburgring track actually gives us tends to be a little bit too large, and the complexity, and that's a fair enough statement. I have a lot of road course buddies that look at the Nürburgring and they're like, nah, you know what, I'm good, I actually don't want to race there. But a lot of Americans tend to take on this track as one of those endurance events they get into. So this is one of those tracks that a lot of the guys in it tend to not only own, but license, and actually participate in racing in. So this is one of the statistical oddities in terms of the NASCAR world going road course racing. So I think it's a great one. And you add into that the Garage 61 entry of the modified next-gen chassis with headlights. Damn those stickers.
Well, and we also, remember, have got the very unique fact that we're running the no chicanes layout, right? So we have no impediments down the Mulsanne Straight, which means we are going to be in it for what could be one of the faster road course races we've seen ever with ASRL in its history, right? You can hit upwards of 200 miles an hour solo down the Mulsanne Straight. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, doing some testing yesterday, the speeds were ridiculous. It's also one of the few times in NASCAR you get an opportunity to. It is no surprise who's on pole. This guy's been quick here all week in testing.
He's one that dominates many races in ASRL, and he's looking to dominate another one this afternoon. It is Brody Gunter on pole position for the 510 Racing number 01. Joshua Hagee with the Eminent Signs and Graphics Motorsports number 7 will start alongside him on the front row with Alex Allen back in third. Hagee's teammate Rene Garcia starts back and forth with Racing 3 Wides. Dylan Grutzmacher, the 388, back in fifth. Jarrell Williams starts in sixth for Cautions and Coffee. Alongside Work in Progress is Joshua Rutherford with Mark Krinke for Racing 3 Wides starting back in eighth to close out the top half of the field.
Yep, and in the second half of the field is going to be Paul Ellison from Corey Rutherford, Carson George, Nick Batista out of 12th spot, Matt Croak out of 13th was the last driver to set a time. From here on back we have, sorry, my apologies, Nick Batista I think was the last driver to set a time. So Croak, Travis Fleming, Casey Campbell and Brian Bruno, 4 drivers failing to set a time. And for the fans watching along at home, when you look at plus 11 seconds, what is going on there? Remember, a lap around Le Mans Circuit de la Sarthe is 3 minutes and 42 seconds for our pole sitting driver, Nick Batista, 3 minutes and 54 seconds. So if you divide that 11 seconds off the pace by minute, you get that down to about 3 seconds off pace, which is, it's a lot less of a drop. And the thing is, there are some long straights and the braking zones come up on you very quickly. It's so easy to make a mistake and blow through them. Solo drivers dropping very circumspect.
You can see right now the field working their way out as we approach the Porsche curves on the one and only kind of third of a lap pace lap this afternoon. We don't do through the whole formation lap for obvious reasons. It would take forever at this place. But, 20 laps ahead of us, but those 20 laps are going to have lots packed into them. It's only a 4-lap fuel run, and that means it's going to be a pretty evenly split 4-stop race, 4, 8, 12, 16, and then from there, you go straight to the end. Now, they'll be able to make it to the checkered flag without having to worry about fuel that much. They'll have about a third of a lap in the tank, but not nearly enough to go for 5. So, fuel strategy, not playing a factor in tonight's race.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, the problem is with all of the issues with the track length is that trying to save that extra lap worth of fuel. If there was one more lap, you might be able to do it, but the other thing is you also need braking zones to do that, and as soon as you take out the chicanes on the straight, you can't lift off and save time there, so.
We got all of this ready to rumble away this afternoon. Brody Gunter, as we just discussed, the odds-on favorite to win racing action this afternoon, and not expecting anything less. I'd be shocked if he finished anywhere within 30 seconds of the leading group, unless he has a technical failure, in which case, who knows what might happen. But Josh Rutherford and Brian Bono will be starting their race back. You hear the fighter jets formation fly over the top of the front straightaway as we are down to 14 at the start of this race. Brody Gunter leads the way through the Ford chicanes. Time to get the party started as the green flag drops in Le Mans.
He did not get a good launch, and he's actually going to get pushed through. Alex Allen's got on the loud pedal and managed to make some ground up. Got a lift to make the kink in stock cars. And remember, cold tires. This is the first time these boys will be firing in here on truly cold tires, because you have to go 4 minutes around to get back to turn 1. So this is a little bit of a different challenge on the run through turn 1.
Whoa!
There you go.
Big collision as Rene Garcia goes spinning off the road as a result. So Garcia down and out of the fight early on in this one. Meanwhile, Brody Gunter trying to stretch his legs to the head of the field. Alex Howland trying to battle in through Tetra Rouge, and we fight our way to the Mulsanne through the right-hand kink, and now these guys can open up the taps. 200+ miles an hour coming at you. We saw drivers alone hitting speeds of 204 without the draft. What can Alex Howland, though, do with it?
Well, I'll give you some stats. The difference in lap times, a good lap time around here through the chicanes, in a NASCAR about a 403. When you get behind these things, it's a 341, right? So it is a 22-ish second difference in terms of lap time just by not taking these chicanes. So we've already bounced through the first one. Cold tires, look at the bumps, look at the little sections on the road. Can't ride the crown on the road. There's a crown in the center of the road to try and allow what is normally open road that you can drive on to drain. So you can't ride that with the tires stone cold. A little bit of a draft is certainly helping. And then you tip it in here, 200 miles an hour. How about that, Nolan?
Drivers are hitting up to 204 solo, and you heard several times where Joshua Hagee was lifting out of the throttle there to try and, Alex Howell's lifting out of the throttle to try and give that engine a little bit of breathing room, because pushing the red line that long down the straightaway, it's going to boost those water temps up quickly, and you run into these same concerns about engine overheating that you would at the track like a super speedway.
The difference between a super speedway and this package, we're actually going to see Corey Rutherford going side by side at the moment. I think that's Matt Croak has just gotten through on the inside of him. But the difference here is that on super speedways, you can't get out of the nose of the cars. They're actually more overtaking the background as well. Is that Batista, I think, side by side at the moment? It is. It was Batista. He just got passed by Rene Garcia. So Garcia's already picked off one of those spots. And have a look at Corey Rutherford firing it back down the inside on the run through Indianapolis. Pulls it up, gets the job done. Does he keep it on the track? He does.
Very bold choice going for a lunge into that corner, even in sports car racing, let alone in stock cars, right, where you have to be so fine and so on the line. But they're able to get the job done. A lot of the battles right now towards the tail end of the field here. They see Travis Fleming and Rene Garcia. They're separated by 0.2 of a second as they'll work their way around the pit straightaway, this time by Joshua Rutherford, making his way on to the racetrack. A little bit late to the call, but could be able to pick up some spots as drivers find themselves eliminated out of this race when we work the Porsche curves.
So issue for Josh Rutherford, and car actually off the road at that point in time. So Josh Rutherford had a blue screen, a little bit of problems there, and it was Croak who actually ran long on the entrance to the Porsche curves, ran off the track. And Josh Rutherford's night continues to get worse.
Not going swell for Joshua Rutherford at the time being. Let's take a look at the lap 1 incident. This is what happened to Rene Garcia in turn number 1. As looking like Dylan Grutzmacher just kind of got into the door of him, and, well, 24 there, just an innocent bystander for Jared Williams. This is Croak.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, just deep on the entry to Porsche curves. A lot of runoff area, a lot of gravel to pull the car back up as well. So,
and then I'm willing to bet cold tires is what caught the work in progress number 64 here. And yep, that pretty much locked the rears.
That's a downshift. That's a downshift. That's not cold tires. It wouldn't have helped, but that's a downshift. 100% a downshift.
One lap in the books. Brody Gunter 2.4 clear already in just the opening lap. Alex Howland and Joshua Hagee running second and third. Just behind them is Grutzmacher and Williams. Fighting it out for fourth and fifth as we'll battle our way back down the Mulsanne straight. And it's a long, long way down to the Mulsanne hairpin at the end.
Oh, that's brave. Are they going to form up and actually bump draft each other?
It's doable. Again, we talked about how brave it is, but it is doable. Let's look at the bill. I think Williams is backing out here.
I've been pushing on. I'd do it. Pushing to the win. Screw it. When's the next time we're going to be racing stock cars here? Side by side deeper in the field. Hell yeah. Le Mans Circuit de la Sarre. Classical layout. Something unique. I've never seen this in race cars. You know.
So I actually have broadcasted a race of this layout before tonight. And it was with the SCCA Spec Racer Fords for the Beer League a couple seasons ago.
Was that a minute to go from end to end?
And let me tell you what, we had some of the most spectacular crashes that league has ever seen down that Mulsanne. It was beautiful. Looking like with all the dust being kicked up, Dylan Grutzmacher may have gone deep into the hairpin here.
again, it was the downshift where the car shot out and around him. The problem is when you're in a little bit hot, the rear end wants to get around because you can't really pull the rear end of the car. The front pulls up really, really nicely and accurately, and then the rear gets unstable. So, okay. So I'm thinking Josh Higgins trying to save the gas over Alex Howland because he's 3 seconds a lap quicker than him in qualifying trim. Unless that was a mistake, I would say it's probably a mistake from Alex Howland in qualifying trim. But if he's trying to save the gas, the problem is Higgins got to be. He's got to have Alex Howland sit directly in front of him for the entirety of the run. And as soon as you start offsetting yourself, it doesn't happen. And the problem is you've got to save the extra lap on every single run across the course of the night to get the extra lap overall. So realistically, the fuel safe strategy, the reason why we're saying it won't work is because you lose more than you gain on the fuel safe strategy. It is not even worth trying here. And I'm a guy that loves, I will go to great pains to try and make a fuel safe strategy work.
And hey, if you don't gain any, no point in doing it. If somebody might want to tell that 7 car the message, if that is indeed the strategy that he's going for. The Corvette curves. And on the approach to the Ford chicanes at the end of the straight. 2 laps in the books from Le Mans. They wanted a pretty exciting opening 2 laps at that, but already we've got a 30-plus second separation from first back to just 11th place alone.
Josh Rutherford's still out there and turning laps too. But yeah, you're right. Campbell and Bono starting park, I believe, for these guys. In fact, I don't even think they started. So, but they did show up. So you can't fault them for that. Battle on for P2, starting to heat up.
Croak, I believe, has just found himself facing the wrong direction. And this is on the approach of the Ford chicanes for the Dudak Croak Racing number 02. And a little bit of a slide, and around he goes.
Where did gravel end up there? Somebody cut that chicane. You can see the tire marks in the background. I'm very, very keen to see what his top speed is this time by, because this is lap 3. And there is a very discernible difference as the fuel comes out of these cars.
Top speed for Gunter right now, 205 is what he is hitting. Now these 2 drivers going to be able to link up, and no, he's going to go for the overtake.
Disappointed in the pair of you. Very disappointed in the pair of you. There was an opportunity to be breaking NASCAR speed records right there. Neither of you took it.
They're at 206 right now, matching race leader Brody Gunther down the Mulsanne Straight. And the ESGI number 7 for Ren Gog and his Ford Mustang. They'll top out at 206 down the straight. Before we jam hard on the binders. Bit of contact between the 2 as they go through the kink. But it'll be the number 7 to take the spot up. But look at Alex Howland trying to go for the over-under.
Yep, recognize that all you need to do is pinch him shallow, make him break a little bit deep, and then you can cross him back over. Good racecraft, good race awareness.
Two distinct battles going on right now. I got this fight for second and the fight for 6th as well, and we'll obviously keep on kind of going back and forth between the pair as we work to try and figure out which one's going to make the move first. And looking like it might be Mark Krinke here, trying to get the run at Ellison. Ellison trying to shut the door, but Krinke's got the nose in, and the Alabama gang driver going to lift out early and allow for the 313 to take that one as we enter Indianapolis.
Yeah, and the reason for that is very, very risky. It is a long loaded corner. You can see exactly what happened to Krinke. Ran wide as he entered Indy. Trying to set up the run down to a notch. You can lose a lot. You gain a little bit on the way in, but you lose so much just not being able to flow the car through the middle of the corner. He wide as he enters the Porsche curves too.
Meanwhile, Gerald Williams has been losing a bit of time. Back to Dylan Grutzmacher as well over the last half a lap or so. So we see Williams and Grutzmacher now closing in just a little bit more to one another. through the Porsche curves and now working through Corvette, and that will set this pairing up once again for the Maison Blanche to close out the lap just prior to the Ford chicanes. So another series of corners right that's super critical to get right, and much like how at the Nürburgring you mess up one corner, right, the next like 5 or 10 are going to be screwed up. You mess up one of those curves and your whole rhythm is thrown off for the entire back half of the lap.
Yeah, it's really easy. Just taking a quick look at... Well, how about this? I have the Ford Mustang Xfinity Series lap record around here, because I was out and having a little bit of fun with it, and I'm just taking a quick look at different cars and different categories that have set lap times around this track. So GT3 is around the regular, the current day Le Mans circuit, including both of the Mulsanne chicanes, is somewhere in the realm of 356 to 4 minute laps. So somewhere in and around there, depending upon track temperature. And because obviously it's a 4 minute lap, the track temperature will make the time swing quite a fair way. Well, the fastest lap around this layout on iRacing belongs to the Mercedes AMG W12, is a 251. That would be the car wringing its neck out for the entirety of that lap. The Indy car is less than a second behind it at 252. From there, we head into the LMP1 cars of the Audi R18 and the Porsche 919, no longer doing battle at the high speeds. So check out this battle, actually. This is going to be worth keeping an eye on.
Ritzmacher making the move on Jared Williams past the first chicane and working their way down the Mulsanne straight. Two Camaros side by side, and Grutzmacher is able to pick off the spot quite easily, although Jared Williams is going to end up tucking back in line, and we'll try to give him now the arrow push down the back stretch. Grutzmacher passing by chicane number 2 and on the approach of the Mulsanne hairpin.
Speed's not quite as high as we were seeing in practice yesterday. I was definitely seeing a touch higher on the peak speeds. But look at the cars move around as they get on the brakes as well. Grutzmacher's all out of shape, as is Jarrell Williams. And the problem is you want to use the engine braking to get the car to pull up, but first gear is so unstable. And that's what's causing Grutzmacher to swing all around.
And Williams going to be able to take a good run through Mulsanne to have a look back down the Gulf Straight on the approach to Indianapolis. So we work our way back around to the front straightaway. And Grutzmacher is going to hang on, while Williams is going to be dropping back just a little bit. Meanwhile, Batista and Fleming going at it again. And that'll be Batista making a move, but you know, talk about the F1 car, the Indy car. I honestly thought both of them would be a little bit quicker around here, but I can almost guarantee you that the reason why the Indy car, which is normally beat by about a couple seconds by an F1 car around most traditional road courses, the reason why it's only less than a second behind, whereas the F1 car will just gap it in the corners like the Porsche and Corvette curves, that Indy car is running it down on the straights.
Oh, 100% it is, because the battery had run out on the Mercedes as well. But it's just interesting to have a little bit of a look at those cars and some of the lap times that come out of them. Actually, sorry, my apologies. It's not even the Indy car, it's the Dallara IR01. I read Dallara IR and I went, oh, that's the Indy car.
There you saw Matthew Krogh dumping it at the inside. So we got the Wish.com version of the Formula One car then.
No, wow. I mean, it's the souped-up IndyCar chassis, effectively. What if got applied to an IndyCar chassis is effectively the way that I like to treat that car. Tricky pit lane. In fact, this will be the trickiest pit lane of the season because it's the only one with a chicane in the pit lane entry.
We're kind of trying to find a driver to go on board to really demonstrate this, and we'll ride on board here with Carson George on the approach. Will be forced to pit this time. And it's a chicane that was talked about prior to this race because, well, you could easily get a slowdown penalty through it. You got to lift out before it, and that was that chicane right there. And if you don't lift out before, well, you're going to be slapped with a penalty, and then your race is effectively ruined.
And that 60 board is not 60 mile an hour, that's 60 kilometers per hour on those boards. We're in France. We use the metric system.
Not seeing any movement of any kind through pit road here so far. So the drivers are pretty much entering and then leaving in the exact same order they came in on. So, again, not really a surprise when there's quite a bit of separation.
Worthwhile noting tonight, Nolan. So I think there's a little bit of strategy going on up front. You have 4 sets of tires to get your way through the night, but there is going to be 4 pit stops. One of those pit stops, you will not be taking tires because you have to also leave. 4 sets of tires includes the set that starts on the car. So one of the things that's going through my brain with that sort of strategy, particularly for our guys up front, is they want a little bit of separation. So when they slap their older tires on, or leave that tire on for a double stint, there's a little bit more gap. They're not going to get overtaken, and they can slap fresh tires on and go a fair bit harder.
So one interesting thing to note about this, Joshua Hickey right now, the ESGI Motorsports number 7, 12 seconds in the box. Most other drivers were looking at high 7s, low 8s, right? So about 4 to 5 seconds slower throughout pit road. So he definitely took 2 tires on that pit stop, and I would imagine they're left side tires, right? That would just be the first that would come to mind to me. This is a right-hand turning racetrack after all, so might be going to swap 2, and then 4 to the end.
Maybe, but I'd be doing either fronts or rears. So the tires are actually wearing a little bit around here. The tire wear is actually exceptionally even across the car.
I don't think you have the choice on front or rear. I think you have to do 2 and 2 on either side.
No, the tires are all done individually in a NASCAR. You can select them individually. Yeah,
okay,
because you can control tire pressures individually.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, could have done fronts and rears. Interesting to ask if we find him on the podium by the end of this. Rene Garcia.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that.
Rene Garcia, meanwhile, made the move on Paul Ellison down the Mulsanne Straight and picked up the number 7 position.
Tricky part will be, I wonder if he did rears or fronts first.
Could be. I don't. Well, how would it even work though? Because I mean, you don't lift. Okay, so here's the thing. It doesn't make sense to me to only do fronts or rears. I think it has to be able to right lefts because you can't jack up the front or the rear of the car. It has to be on the sides.
Well, yeah, Ooh.
You can change the tire pressure individually, yes, but I don't think you can change the tires individually. There's no way to jack the front of the car up like you could a touring car or a GT3, for example. You know, where they push in the air jacks and the whole car lifts up. You're
right. I'm applying road course logic here. So
yeah,
there's no air jack. You're right.
Yeah, so he would have had to have changed right sides then, or left sides then, right? Because those are the main wheels that are being given all the pressure here. Now let's change the right sides first.
I'm too curious. I can't wait. I need to find out.
You're gonna look back and find out what he did.
No, I'm gonna go ask the man directly.
Well, ask him when he's on the Mulsanne and not in the middle of the last half of the racetrack. Then.
I don't have to wait too long for that one. Hagee. Well, he has lost time relative to Alex Howland, which we were expecting because he was longer through the box. Worthwhile noting as well, instant point limit in operation here tonight. 17 instant points will get you a drive-through penalty. 26 instant points will get you DQ'd.
Quarter way through this race, and Travis Fleming is off the road big time, and look out as he's going to rejoin right in front of Nick Batista. So there was Fleming going off the road.
He's in hot.
Yeah.
Very hot.
Way overshot, and then this was Batista right as he came back on the racetrack. A little bit of a close call, and then this was Corey Rutherford having a moment at the end of the Mulsanne. You might be able to go ask Josh Higgy now. Whoa, hello. Bit of a downshift problem there. But there he is. He just hit the Mulsanne, so Scott Rankin has jumped out. He is going to go and figure out what's what with the driver, the number 7. For now, Brody Gunter out by 17 seconds already in just the opening 5 laps of this race. Alex Howland, meanwhile, back in the number 2 spot with Hickey back in 3rd. Grutzmacher runs 4th with Williams in 5th in a bit of a loose battle. 2 seconds between them. Krinke and Garcia have 1.7 between them. Then you got Paul Ellison, Carson George. Nick Batista rounds out the top 10, and then closing out the cars on the lead lap, you have Travis Fleming, Matthew Croak, and Corey Rutherford down at the very tail end of the field, with Corey Rutherford already almost 3 minutes behind Brody Gunter. And then Josh Rutherford just making his way back out onto the racetrack after he spent 1.5 minutes in pit road. And Casey Campbell starting park with Brian Bono failing to start this race. Scott, what news?
Yeah, so it's got absolutely nothing to do with tires. The reason that he had a long pit stop, he actually took 0 tires, tried to get out of the pit stop, bound himself a clutch bite point button, and he stalled the car multiple times in his pit stall as he was trying to leave.
Okay, well, so much for strategy then, right?
Yeah, so everyone's on the same strategy. They'll all double a stint their first set of tires and then single stint tires home after that.
So Josh Rutherford is claiming that when he hit the brakes, his rear differential locked. And that's why he was spending so long in pit road, because he had 1.5 minutes worth of repairs. I didn't know that was possible.
You can't. Yeah, I'm reasonably certain you can't lock the diffs. So I would say that's damage caused as a result of hitting the barrier or something after that happened.
Probably. That, or he did kind of, when he did spin out, it was over a lot of sausage curves, so it could have damaged something on the other side of the car.
Yeah, that would be what the issue was. It wouldn't be related to the actual locking the diff. I mean, you can lock the diff with downshifts, and that can cause an issue, but that won't cause damage to the race car.
Oh boy. That, of course, brings up a whole new conversation with sausage curbs, and obviously I know, Scott, you and I have some rather strong opinions on sausage curbs, as do many in the motorsport world. It's always an interesting discussion, right, in terms of how do we keep track extending from happening, which is, let's be real, that's the real reason why it's there, is to keep drivers from extending the racetrack limits, and you see them everywhere at Le Mans.
Not just Le Mans, but in a ton of different places. I'm just trying to find where Rutherford's issue was as well.
I imagine it might have been the lap 1 incident where he spun coming off of pit road. That's the only thing I can think of. It's the only incident I'm seeing, at least, where he actually spun out. Almost there was another one that we missed, but 14 laps to go.
Yeah.
Battle for second is picking up here as well. The ESGI number 7 has really run down Alex Howland the last few laps, and that's allowed Gunther to speed off by almost 20 seconds now.
I mean, he might have damaged. I just found it. Maybe damaged the splitter or something, but I don't think so. So that's definitely an odd one.
Matthew Crow got up unsettled over one series of curbs and then just lost it through Arnage. Meanwhile, side by side with the number 2 spot down Mulsanne as Higgy, making the move on Howland.
Oh, damage has got, yeah, so damage I actually did find Josh Rutherford. There was an additional, remember how I said there was tire tracks through the grass, through the sand in the final sector, just before you get back to the start finish line?
Yes.
Rutherford was actually the reason for that, and he downshifted one too many times on the way into that chicane. Car pitched hard into the left-hand side barriers. So yeah, damage not related to a diff locking, it is from hitting the barriers.
You see the battle for the number 2 spot ripping down the front straightaway. As they will remain side by side on the approach. And that is one that Joshua Hickey will win out quite convincingly, as he is well clear by 3 into the Mulsanne hairpin. And Alex Howland will now try to get him back. That spin with Joshua Rutherford, that happened around the time, I believe, Croak spin into the final corner, did he not? Oh.
Maybe. Whoa, that's deep.
As Jarrell Williams off the road. This, I believe, is the incident that Josh Rutherford had. Whoa, yes, sir. That'll do it. Ooh. And Croak, Corey Rutherford, and Jared Williams have all had issues in the last 30 seconds or so.
Again, just deep.
Well, this was Jared Williams into Mulsanne. Way hot. Just overshooting, going deep into the sand trap. And then this was Corey Rutherford right around the battle for the number 2 spot. Down that Mulsanne straight where Joshua Higgy picked up the spot. Locked the rears again, up and over the curb.
Best thing you can do is when the car is deep and you've got a little bit of room to work with running it straight, just leave it straight, pull the car up, then start to try and turn. Because if you start adding steering input, you're just going to pinch front tires more and more and more. It's going to make the problem worse, not better. As soon as you know you're deep, keep the thing pointed straight. Wait until you've got it loaded up to a speed where you can start to turn it, then you start adding the steering input. That'll get you out of trouble 9 times out of 10.
And receiver Rene Garcia, a 3-way battle for 5th. Krinke in front, Jared Williams behind. And Josh Rutherford again off the road in Arnage.
Well, that's Mulsanne corner, that one.
Oh, was it? Oh.
Yeah?
Now Mulsanne, meanwhile, Krinke, Garcia, and Williams will work through Ford. Back to the front straight. This could be a pretty interesting 3-way scrap. No, never mind. Krinke steps the tail end out, keeps it off the wall, and that will drop him to the tail of the train.
But most importantly, that means he gets the biggest draft if he can stay with them. Oh boy, Jared Williams nearly entered Rene Garcia's rear bumper. Different lines through turn 1, the King Pit 1.
Still able to get a good drive going, though, this afternoon. So, Garcia, Williams, and Krinke will remain in lockstep 5, 6, and 7. We are very much entering the deep portion of this race. We are now working lap number 8, so we are expecting drivers into pit road this lap.
Tail end of this lap will be stop number 2, be fresh tires. For those that didn't take them. Look at the amount of junk on the road at the exit of Mulsanne corner.
Damage on the front of the Corey Rutherford's car. Is it from the barriers at some point?
No, it looks very, very minor. Maybe.
This was his, well, he might have just found it a few seconds ago, because this was, oh, locks the tail and goes into the Armco. So yeah, he did. That was in Indianapolis. I don't think that's anything to be concerned about. The only question I would have for it is, what did that do to the temps down the Mulsanne?
You should be fine. So the biggest thing about temperatures and everything that's going on board these cars is that, actually I'm just going to get a timer started. I really want to know how long it takes. So I'm just watching Matthew Croak at the moment. He's just come off Tetra Rouge, which is the head of the Mulsanne. And I've just started a timer. I'm actually going to count how long it takes for him to track his way down the Mulsanne. And I'll give you the timer when he jumps on the brakes at the back end. Yeah, the biggest, so think about super speedway, the difference between super speedway and what's going on here. In super speedway racing, the cars are all packed up together, so you've got less air that's actually capable of hitting the front spoiler. We've only seen 1 or 2 times tonight where the cars have been close enough for air to start getting restricted to getting into that front, because they seal it off quite nicely left and right. Rushing air so it creates that pocket that's, and that air just gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and there's no fresh air feeding. But at these speeds, the amount of air that's actually going in through the intake, it's really not working at all that hard. The temperatures are actually really cool just because of the amount of air that's rushing through. We're at 55 seconds, by the way.
Top 2 are into pit road. Top 3 now as well.
about a minute. About bang on a minute from getting on the gas at the head of the Mulsanne to getting on the brakes at the other end. And I have a feeling that Brody Gunter would probably add another 2 to 3 seconds to that.
So the big reason why I am in question about Corey Rutherford's temps there is because in the ARCA race for the High Time Racing Guard Premier Series opener over on Monday night just last week, Dalton Kilroe had an incident where he accidentally drove into the back of somebody in pit road before they begun pacing. It gave him a little bit of damage, so minor that we didn't even clock it at first. We didn't even clock the incident even happened because it was that minor. But about 15 laps into the race, he was leading the pack. He was in front, had not been being pushed. He had not been pushing anybody all day long. He had been by himself. The motor suddenly blew up when he was leading the race. So
that could be engine damage.
It ended up being water temp overheated because the engine had been busted up as a result of that hit to the wall, or that hit to the back of the car, which is why I was, questioning. If you're Corey Rutherford and you know about that incident, you'd be a little bit worried when you're running against the red line for that long.
I think it'd be okay, and the reason is different. One of the things with the new ARCA generations of ARCA hardware is that it's new. You're learning bits and pieces like this. The devs are learning bits and pieces like this. What happens when you see a new generation of car? What happened when we first had the next gens come out? We had a bunch of tire failures because things were being overloaded and worked in a way that nobody had thought that teams would want to try, or teams would want not to do, but of course the teams are going to press those boundaries. Teams are always going to do that. With the Xfinity cars, you've got an older chassis. You've got something that's a known quantity. So these cars don't break and bend. Even though they bend, they don't blow up anywhere near as much. But what I will say is there was a recent update to the architecture of the damage in the Xfinity car. The Xfinity car for the longest time was known as the car where slight scrapes on the side of the car would actually cost you the most. You could do it, beat and bang doors in the trucks all day, and they'd generally be quite okay. The Xfinity cars, that would show up nearly immediately in terms of the aero handling of the cars. That went away for a little while, and it's now come back. So, yeah, I will put an exclamation mark over that, of just watch this space. My thoughts are that he'll be okay.
Grant Garcia makes the move on Dylan Grutzmacher down the Mulsanne. That puts him up into 4th. By the time we get back up and around, so lap number 12, we are now working. Sorry, 12 laps to go. We are now working. We are working lap number 9. How about that? Grutzmacher getting the drive back off of Mulsanne and down the Gulf Straight. Picks up the spot from Garcia. And starts to make tracks once more in towards Indianapolis.
Good racing between these three.
Ooh, little deep, and they're both gonna go in hot. Garcia slides off the road, and Jarrell Williams now going to mount an offensive on Dylan Grutzmacher, trying to go the long way around our Dodge. It's not going to work, but he is going to bait Grutzmacher to going in too deep, and Williams has got the run coming off the corner.
Yeah, great power down, and you've got to look after the rear tires because a lot of the lap time loss is actually in the traction zones. The car still turns relatively okay, brakes are okay. The biggest difference is getting the cars to drive off the corner. So Jarrell got to the throttle initially quite okay. The thing that I think he's looking at this point in time is that, is he quicker than these guys on speed? I would say no. But his consistency and his ability to look after the car and not burn the tire off is much better. Oh no, Croak.
Out of the Tetra Rouge, and whoa!
Oh!
That's a...
Now that
could be a race ender.
Is a bigger hit.
That is a race ender. Look at the... Yeah, that's it. Game over.
By the way, Corey Rutherford, I think, stayed on pit lane for a fair while.
He did.
Or is he just a lap down on pace?
Nope, 52 seconds in the box. How much you would have bet? It was a result of a speeding penalty because he didn't serve a black flag. A slowdown penalty.
And he was the guy on the radio going, "Hey guys, remember this is a problem," on the way into pit lane. So that's a little bit of a funny moment. But Gerald Williams getting aggressive into that final chicane. That's not an overtaking opportunity, not an Xfinity car. There are a couple of cars you can make that.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Maybe. That's real tight. You can pick it up for a little bit of, of those issues. Could
Ironic.
also be a speeding on entry penalty as well is the other thing.
Ironic. He could save others and not himself. I found out that one of my friends he's been meaning to, but he's never seen Star Wars before. His family was always a Star Trek family.
I'll disown him.
No, he is eager to get into it. So the second I heard he's never seen it before, I said, all right, we're sitting you down and we're taking you through every single show and every single movie in chronological order. And we're starting by watching 2.5 hour films back to back right now, getting the Voice channel. And we did just that last night. That's what we spent our Saturday night doing after the SRA race. It was a good time. You know, he's thoroughly enjoying it. So I have not disowned him yet, because he is right now enjoying our new Star Wars marathon.
Did you know it's 20 years ago, like this month? That,
Stop it! You're making me feel old. We've talked about this.
I watched this. I remember watching it at the cinema. I was 12 when that movie came out. I must have been 13.
I was 4 when that film came out. Dude,
so,
such a good movie.
but our local cinema is actually showing it again. I've just moved back to my hometown, and I'm going back to see one of the movie that I saw in my childhood at the cinema, in the same cinema. So I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
My local theater is closed now. So
mine is heritage listed. It is yeah. So they did an upgrade to it. When did they do that? I would have done that just before I left town, so it was still, I think it was knocked out from about the time I was 16 through after I left town, so gee whiz, 17 years ago, so 2008, I think they closed the cinema down to do the upgrade and refurbishment works on it. But yeah, it's one of the original cinemas that was originally put in place, so they have to maintain it. So even if that cinema closed down, I believe the heritage listing would have to be maintained on it.
Huh. There you go.
Because it's got a lot of the old frescoes and the really fancy design elements up in the top corners. They kept a lot of the old style lampshades and bits and pieces. It's really pretty.
Oh, Carson George having another moment. Look at all the gravel being dragged up. Look at how much of it has been caught in the grass. That poor grass is going to be dead by the end of the night because of all the gravel that's like just choking it out.
It's already dead. Forget it. Instead. She's already dead. I'm enjoying this battle between Grootsmarker, Williams, and Garcia, though.
It's a pretty good one as well. Yeah, they've remained remarkably close, and we're already halfway through this race. How's that?
Grootsmarker just ran very wide.
You know what I find interesting about this race? You know, we expected this to be one of those cases where we'd be getting all the viewers from the Blazing Pedals ARCA Series race at Talladega over to jump over here once they were finished with their race there, but they're further in percentage in their race than we are. We actually might be finished before they will, which would be a first, considering we're starting half an hour later.
Yeah, just a quick old race here tonight. You can just see, so Gerald Williams is carrying a lot of entry speed into those final chicanes, but he's not pulling the car up and he's not allowing the car to rotate. So he was quick through there the last lap. I think that might have been a touch of pressure because he felt like he should have been able to get by Dylan Grootsmarker. So made a couple mistakes. And now he'll be forced to sort of sit back and just watch again.
I want to take a ride on board with Jared Williams for a lap here and really kind of show you what's all going on inside these race cars around a track that is this long. You know, these opening segments here, you know, this is your pretty standard road course stuff, right? I mean, nothing too crazy. The crazy comes once you're getting into places like Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's where the speed really gets up. So this corner here is all about, you want to touch the curb on the right, you can follow it out and use the blue curb, but that blue curb's a little bit, it's fine to use it in a GT3 or an LMP2 GTP, which has got a lot of that downforce and a lot of that grip. But for a NASCAR, it's the painted surfaces are lower grip, and there's actually drivers talking about the white line. So see the crown on the road? You can actually feel the car crest it and then get sucked across. But if you can ride the car down the center of this, what happens is that there's actually less space under the car. So air going underneath the car creates drag. You put the car in the middle of that, there's less air going underneath the car. You actually go faster in terms of a straight line. So that's why you see all the drivers trying to drive the middle of the road. LMP2s can't do it because they are a little bit too low. They'll spark and drag on the floor the whole way. GTPs, some of them can, some of them can't. So it's one of those things that's really car dependent, but it is worth speed around here. I definitely saw a 207 there on the speed too. So I think that's one of the top speeds that we've had here today. Now, after a minute on the throttle pedal, you get down here, you're looking for the 200 meter board. On the left there, you brake at the 200 meter, straight as you can, a little bit of a lift to the brake pedal. He pinches the right front on his way in there. I leave it in second gear until I'm ready to get back to the power. And the reason for that is the first gear actually locks the rear end up and makes it difficult to pitch the car in. Gravel on the exit, so again, that's starting to clear. And then again, it's about another 30-second flat out period as we run down here.
Upwards
so
of 170, 180. 190. Will we hit 200 down to go straight? No, we'll top out at 196 and then sling the car into Indianapolis.
Again, risk-taking. You can go deeper into Indianapolis, but you will struggle to pull the car up for that left-hander right there. Underneath the Alley Sports gantry, first gear corner back here down at Arnage. You can use the curb on the left-hand side of entry. Straighten out the exit as much as possible so you can get the power down. You can just see you're managing the throttle all the way through first gear. Short shift for Williams to second to stop those rear tires spinning. Again, crown on the road, use it if you can, but at the same time, shorten the run-up, get to the left-hand side here. A little bit of back to the right, and the reason for that is to open up the braking zone down here so you can brake in a straight line. Normally, you lift off and brake at that green patch on the left. You've got to brake a little bit before it. Back to second gear. Through the Porsche curbs, the entrance to the Porsche curbs. It's this one that's the critical corner that governs the speed you can carry through. If you're hot in there, you've got to lift off so you don't hit the barriers on the right-hand side. You want to be on the curbs, right next to the curbs of this right-hander, and you don't want to flow the car out because, again, it's the exit curb. See how he stays all the way to the right. Tips it back to the left. You can use a little bit more of that entry corner. Entry curb, you can use some of that exit curb. That's very, very close to a slowdown penalty for Jarrell Williams. So that's right on the limit. That's okay. Then down here, braking rows, the pit lane entry starts up right there. Back to second gear, over the curbs, can touch the little signs on the left and right. Back to first gear here, hop the curb on the left, hop the curb on the right, straighten out that exit zone. Very careful on the power. The curbs are slippery on the left in the NASCAR. That's a lap around Le Mans Circuit de la Salle. Historic.
And you saw how much was close on Rene Garcia in the back portions of that lap as well. He was really having a good run at it. It looks like we've got another issue here with Corey Rutherford and Mark Krinke. We'll take a look at both those in just a moment, but this is Corey Rutherford with Alex Allen right behind, locks it up and goes in deep into Arnage, and then this was Krinke's incident. Same corner.
Yeah, it's actually really difficult to get the car pulled up down here.
You can hear the car wheel hopping from back here already. You don't have to go on board to hear that one.
That's too much brake and too much speed on the entry. And Rene Garcia, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a slowdown penalty for him. Travis Fleming just got one, I can tell you. Casey Campbell has a meatball, so he is done for the day. I think that might have been his car actually exploding on pit lane is why he got the meatball.
That would explain it. Working lap number 12, and should be seeing these guys back into pit road this time by for their third stops of the night, and then one more to go after that one.
I think Jarrell Williams just trying to shift to fifth gear.
Did he really? No way. No way. I have to hear this for myself.
No, it's after he comes out onto the Mulsanne, but yeah.
We'll jump it forward.
He definitely grabbed the clutch, I think, to try and shift. I definitely heard some engine rev changes, and he lost a lot of speed. So
just out of instinct there. All right, let's take a listen.
Let it go from here. Look, so he's starting to make some time up on Rene.
So I think he just went to the third there.
No, that's fourth. He's in fourth already.
Nope. Now he's in fourth.
Apologies. Now he's in fourth. Yeah.
So he's in fourth gear now. Yep, he sure did. Whoops. could have been worse. Could have been worse. He could have downshifted to third, so...
Oh, yeah, that would have just been instantly grenaded it. There would have been no help there.
That went about as well as he could have, but... boy,
Cheryl Williams...
I'm actually not happy that we caught that. Oh, hello, Corey Rutherford way out, and that... bit more than he was bargaining for.
I think I'm going to send that moment into iRacing not top 10 for Cheryl.
Oh, please do. I would love to see that again.
That needs to be immortalized.
Whoops. I'm going to put that on the leak spotlight.
Well, that's just the bad luck, right? Because it's just the only reason we noticed that is that I was watching Cheryl Williams at that point in time. 100%. It's normal to do that.
Yeah, like in any other car here, in any car that's not a stock car, heck, in a next-gen car here, that'd be completely normal. Like, you're running like a Gen 7 car, you'd absolutely shift to fifth because they have 5 gears.
Yeah. You want to know the funny thing is that I've been racing a lot of supercars and stock cars lately, and then I go back and I jump into GT3. My first thing that I do is I'll immediately start blipping on the downshifts, and the GT3s automatically do that all. You don't need to do anything with it, so, but yeah. Oh my god, I can't believe we caught that. That's hilarious.
That's incredible. I love that. I'm sure he's not happy about it, but...
Oh boy.
Once in a while, we get the rare opportunity to have a bit of a laugh at one of the driver's expenses.
That's amazing. You've made my day. It's going to be a good Monday. It's going to be a great Monday. Thanks, Gerald.
Great Monday. I keep forgetting it's Monday for you. It's not Sunday night like it is for us North Americans.
Yeah, that week is stuff. What are you watching in terms of racing this week, Nolan?
Well, I just watched the...
Keep up to date with it?
Well, I keep up to date on everything that Flow Racing puts out. So I just finished watching the Cars Tour race before we came in here, and I have to go back and watch the USAC race from Terre Haute once we finish here. Pretty big pile up in that Cars Tour race, though. Like 15 cars wrecking into turn 1 on the restart. Somebody missed the shift.
I mean, that happens.
Yeah.
Racing, right? I mean, you're pushing everything to the limits. The other thing that's worthwhile pointing out in these cars as well is that if you've got somebody riding your back bumper and they're pushing, they can push you into a zone where the engine actually doesn't want to shift. If you get above 9,000 RPM, the car actually will try and reject the shift on you if you're not careful. So you've really got to lift out to make sure you can get that shift slammed through. So slow pit stop for Jarrell Williams. I think I'm seeing. He lost a ton of time. 10 seconds or so?
Well, some drivers took fuel only, some drivers took 4 tires. Some drivers could go for a little bit of both, but the pit stop's underway. We'll give a chance to give a shout out to the folks that need help to keep the lights on here for the ASRL Xfinity Series presented by Purple A's Auto Sports. Want to race something, want to race open, but not sure if your setup is up to stuff. Want to race something made by someone who knows their stuff. Want to know why we keep asking random questions in a rhyming fashion like some sort of poetry buff? Well, check out twrsetups.com. Their setups are meticulously crafted and personally run by their top-tier drivers and all ASRL competitors to ensure that you get the best there is. So don't delay. Join the wild side of setup shops today, and, well, Renee Garcia and Dylan Grutzmacher have both just had issues, and looking like one may have been the cause of the other. Whoa! There goes 1 and 2. Big target fixation there from Garcia.
Oh, that's so easy to do. You're racing a guy and you try and beat him into a corner and you both go deep. How often have we seen that?
Too many. Well, racing action is continuing on with no current battles out of the racetrack. We'll take ourselves a quick step back. When we return, it'll be more racing action coming on up on Green Flag TV. Stay with us.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible, and we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
back to Green Flag TV. We are live from Le Mans here for the ASRL Xfinity Series presented by Purple A's Auto Sport. Rhoda Gunter remains way out in front. 20 seconds clear of the field. My name is Old Rempel alongside Scott Rankin, and well, there's been a few moments as this was Dylan Grutzmacher. He's had a couple of incidents since we went to break, and he is now out of the race. Not for that reason, but for this one. See Corey running from behind, pulling it off to the side, and oh! Grutzmacher blew the motor!
Yeah, that's a money shift. He's on a H-pattern shifter. He went to go for third gear, or he got first.
Ooh, that's not ideal.
By the way, drivers in the sim are currently discussing the poll that you just placed up on the stream. Socks, shoes, or neither. So we are getting data coming in.
I'm sorry, they are watching while driving, and that's how they know we're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at this point everyone's a little bit bored.
Oh my god.
I don't think Le Mans will be returning. But I can tell you, Corey Rutherford is a Sox driver.
So the big reason for this is because this apparently came up during the Blazing Pedals ARCA Series race. So they have a poll going over there as well, where most people are socks, some are shoes. They got 9 votes over there right now. I put into their chat that I like shoes. My producer, Hijacked, who's running off of the same account mine, we're using just different keys, he said socks, and I made sure it was not Nolan. So I decided, let's carry the vote over here, have a joint stream conversation about it. So Derek and Evan, if you are listening, I would love to know what your opinions are on socks versus shoes. I don't think they are listening because they got their own race to call.
Okay,
but
okay, I've got votes coming in. This is coming in live from the sim.
Live from the
Rutherford,
sim?
Yeah. This is from the drivers.
Okay.
So Josh Rutherford, neither. Brody Gunter, neither. And remember, Gunter does do driving in real life.
Okay. That's interesting to me.
I think we were talking about it off air as well. Was that?
Are they barefooting it?
Yeah, he's barefooting it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, these guys are barefooting it.
Fair play. Fair play.
I actually have a section on my pedals that is I've worn back to the metal, so I've worn all the paint away.
Ooh.
But to be fair, I've been driving on those pedals for at least 3 years, and I've done in that time period, it would be in excess of 5,000 laps, probably somewhere in the realm of a couple hundred hours worth of racing. Actually, there's a good chance it's beyond. It would be somewhere up around 1,000 hours of racing in that time. So.
Travis Fleming has had an off. And this is entering the Ford chicanes here. So I'm going to reckon probably lock the rears on entry. Whoa, yep. Way too deep. Get that out of the wall, though.
Yeah, if it's going to spin one way, you'd probably prefer it to spin that way. Because there's a lot of runoff area. Can confirm Jarrell has not gone for 5th gear again. Joshua Higgins just had his first incident point, I think, of the night. I just saw him run off. Something flashed up in my timing.
Yeah, Williams and Ellison send their personal fast laps of the race, and we're expecting drivers to be coming in for their final pit stops as well, this time by as well.
Yeah, this will be the final stop for the field here. So again, just watch the pit lane entry. It's worthwhile noting how tricky this is. Look at how much you got to slow it down to tip it in. He's got a 23-second margin, so for Gunter, there's no reason to press here. This is one of those stops where you're just like, okay, I got to back everything down. Make sure that we just hit all the marks. We're going to underdrive this a lot. Because that's how his race scenario looks.
Yoda Grutzmacher, by the way, has said that he wears karting shoes when he is racing. We got 3 different polls on the votes, or different votes on our poll here from the people that are watching at least. Now, You said some votes are coming in live, and I have to ask, given what you told me before this, were you asking them directly?
No, they were offering their own opinions because there are drivers who are capable of listening along to us whilst they actually race, and it doesn't impact them too much.
And they clearly know that we're listening as well.
Yeah.
Or at least that you are.
Yeah, well, I'm actually able to talk to them in the sim here tonight, which I'm enjoying.
You don't have to get the... Well, I guess you've always had the chance to do that, but we don't often get a realistic chance because they're usually busy doing other things, like, racing. But, when everybody's spread out by 5+ seconds in the field, you got a little breathing room for that.
Yep. So, for the moment, final pit stops of the night coming in. Last set of tires, throw them on. Couple drivers have just improved their best laps of the night too. So Jarrell Williams and Paul Ellison have just done their best laps of the night, which is good to see them improving.
Meanwhile, several drivers are in.
Oh no! Oh no! Jarrell Williams just missed pit lane.
Oh dear.
Because I just watched him start climbing on the timing tower, and I'm like, he just gained a couple spots. So I'm like, what? How did he do that? You can see how much he's out of the gas. He's gonna try. He recognized that he missed the lane too. He's gonna try and make this around, but he has not been fuel saving.
That's what happens when you're too focused about a pole on the stream instead of driving your car. He's got to open it up a little bit down the Mulsanne here. He's got to get something going for him. Yeah, this is going to be tough.
Yeah, this is a long lap. He's not going to make it, but he needs to lessen the tow time, so... Unfortunately, on the Mulsanne, you just got burned the fuel. He's already lifting out. He's on the clutch. He's already on the clutch.
Well, they only have about a third of a lap, and he's 0.4 into it already. Just with how long... I mean, you got to remember, right? The Mulsanne straight accounts for, about half a lap around this place with just that one straightaway alone. He's probably clutching down the hill to get some extra speed out of it.
So the Mulsanne straight is about 3.7 miles long, and that's the one without the chicanes in it, which is what we're looking at here. So he's made it I didn't expect him to make it this far into the lap, so he's already done a lot better than what you think, but he's lost in that time period there. He's lost already about 6 or 7 seconds back to Hallen. Hallen was 10 seconds behind him when he came out of the pits, so...
And he just ran out of fuel.
He's out.
Yeah, I just heard the car sputter as he passed by the camera, so he is out. And at this point, what he's trying to do is he's trying to make it so the tow distance back is as short as it can possibly be, which he can only do by stretching that as far as it can possibly go.
Oh, he was on for a great finish, too. And the problem is, you got to slow down for these slower corners. So he's actually better off cutting this next corner.
Yeah. Probably better off cutting that corner as well, as much as he could.
Yeah, he's going to have nothing left. He's out.
There he goes. Yeah, pulls it off to the side, takes the tow. Game over for him. Tough break for the Gunter. Takes 3 laps to go. The next few weeks coming on up are interesting, to say at least, with us here. We've only got a handful of races left. By the way, this race tonight brought to you by Tommy Cook and Matt Williamson, both unable to be here, unfortunately, from turn 200. Next week, we are off for Easter Sunday. And then on... we're back the week after. And, Scott, it's Mobility Resort Motanki. Sponsored by Rick Thompson, 130 laps, and then that will see Phoenix with the open dog leg and Darlington to close out the regular series season.
Yep, from there on out, the playoffs will kick in. Week 13, Rockingham Speedway. Remember that one last season came down to a fuel race, and there was a couple drivers who got it done there, recognized the fuel window had opened up last season. That was in the next-gen chassis. This is the first time we'll attack it in the Xfinity cars. Homestead Miami Speedway will play host to week 14 for 140 laps before we head to the championship finale. Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the championship will be decided all the way through on June the 22nd. So it'll actually be an off week in June as well. Actually, we'll have a few weeks off in between after Darlington. So we'll go racing, have an off week, go racing for 27th of April, 4th of May, and then the 18th of May. So there's a week off in there. Another week off in between start of the playoffs at Rockingham. Back-to-back weeks, Homestead Miami for week 14, and then another week off in the middle of June before we go back to decide our champion on the 22nd of June for the first half of the year.
And of course, you can't forget some of the championships that are still in their early stages as well. Most notably, the High Tide Race League Guardian Premier Series out of Atlanta Motor Speedway tomorrow night. Should be a good one with Austin Edstrom back in the broadcast booth alongside myself. Twin season openers this week as well here, Scott, as you got the Beer League taken to the Summer Point Raceway and some good old Legends 34 coupes. The race at Oschersleben was wild, to put it mildly. They went 5 wide on the pit straight and made it work at speed, not off a standing start. It was the most insane thing I've seen in a while. And as well as that, the SRA NAS Classic Series opener kicks off with the SRA Shootout this coming Saturday night as well. Now, coverage for that race is tentative based on how scheduling conflicts shake up. If those are resolved, then we'll cover it live. If not, then Scott, you'll most likely be doing that live tape with me, and that'll be re-aired probably on Tuesday, if I had to guess. But lots coming up that we can be excited about over the next few weeks, nonetheless, with ASRL as well.
And SRA is going through a little bit of a change of hands at the moment as well. So, well, one of the big things that sort of happens is, you know, it's a little bit different. You've got the American Sim Racing League here that have been going since 1999. When you've been going that long, you've got a good core group of guys. And what happens over time is that naturally the beef and the little bits and pieces to get away from each other, you know, you tend to resolve those, and everyone seems to stay together. Well, with SRA at the moment, they're in one of those periods where it is just the floor is lava. But in terms of NASCAR racing, is probably the best way to describe it. There's a lot of hurt feelings and opinions, and everyone's at each other's throats. And the thing about that and all is, it happens in the world of sim racing. That happens. It comes and it goes. You know, it's you've got to resolve your issues with other people to continue going racing, and then you leave and go elsewhere. And both is correct. Both options are actually technically correct. There is, for different situations, right? So I'm really keen to see how the SRA League resolves itself. And yeah, there's egos in racing are a big thing, but they're also part of the reason we like going racing too, because it creates unique storylines.
Hey, they still got a good core group of guys as well. 28 people showed up for the final race of the season, despite there only being 3 eligible for a potential championship. Not a bad turnout for a season finale. A lot of leagues would kill to have those types of numbers. But 2 laps to go in racing action. Well, I guess about a lap and a half at this point in time. Brody Gunter, I said I'd be surprised if he was anywhere under 30 seconds. And how about this? Less than 2 laps to go and 29.3 out. I would be shocked again if he was not plus 30 by the end of this race.
Yeah, he's right on in and around that number as well. Jarrell Williams came out, he's 35 seconds down on Paul Ellison. So remember, he was in behind Rene Garcia, was running in 5th. So he's lost maybe 45 seconds or so. So he's actually not done too badly, but time's going to run out before he can get his way back through it. But fastest lap of the day, 42.158 for Brody Gunter. It's been the best he's been able to put together thus far.
And back behind them, Paul Ellison and Mark Krinke just taking the 2 to go. Oh, they are within 2.5 seconds. So Krinke has been running Ellison down the last little while. In theory, it could actually get to him by the end of this race. Look at the last 2 laps, gained 2.7, just the last lap alone. Krinke's on the move and going for a top 5.
The difficulty with Krinke is he's made a lot of mistakes, I think, tonight. So if he can just lock it down and not make those mistakes, he's definitely quicker. But yeah, he's just going to make sure that he makes apexes, doesn't miss braking zones. So he's a little bit wide there. It's a tiny little mistake. Got to work on that. Tiny little mistake. Got to work on that. That's the big things. So it's just tidying little bits and pieces up.
His last lap was a 3:47.3. That was his best lap of the race so far, and that was 2.7 seconds again quicker than Paul Ellison, who ran a 3:50. So Krenke's got the speed, he's got the potential, he's gotten a couple wins under his belt already. He's just trying to go to get into the top 5, and he's shown he's got the pace, but can he harness what he really needs to get the job done?
Yep, so he's got that margin down to about 2.4 seconds at the moment, so there's nothing in it. Doing all he possibly can. In fact, I think he's a touch faster on the straight at the moment, is Krenke, so he should be able to take some margin out. He also ran quicker than Rene Garcia, so he's actually been matching just about lap times of Joshua Higgy and Alex Allen, and in actual fact, fastest lap time of the day for the 313 machine, last time by, 47.301, so he has been on the improve. Right the way throughout this session.
Brody Gunter, meanwhile, will start his final trip around, and that will look to put this race in the books. For those watching along this afternoon, following our post-race interviews, be sure to check out the first production of the Blazing Pedals ARCA series at the Talladega Superspeedway. They are currently working 96 of 114, and in what could be one of their final pit stop windows of the afternoon for the biggest, baddest track of the NASCAR calendar. So that will be still live as we get set to close out our production here this afternoon. You take a look at that once we talk to our top 3 following the close of this race. I think the only really big question this race has is, does Krenke get around Ellison for 5th? He's going to be helped by that.
Yeah. That's the mistake that he needed, but now he just needs to not get over eager. And I mean, they've got 30 seconds back to Williams, but the thing is, if they fight, they make contact, and they all make mistakes, well, on the final lap of the race, it is a long enough lap that time can be made up, but it is a very, very big margin. And again, another mistake from Ellison.
Down to just 0.4 of a second between the pair of them, as they will take up the final lap this time by at the line. Ellison right now trying to do everything he needs to just hang on for a good final position this afternoon.
I think that's a slowdown penalty. Yeah, it is for Ellison, so you get a slowdown penalty.
Yep. He's going to pull off to the left, and that should do it. I don't think he's going to get back to Krenke with how quick he's been.
Oh, boy, Krenke nearly lost it.
Unless he does something else.
Again, Krenke's starting to really improve on those lap times. He actually just took time with Alex Howland on that lap as well. 50 seconds, 40 seconds on the road actually for Howland, but you know, final lap for Brody Gunter, and he is already through the Mulsanne straight on the run to Indianapolis. Of the 31 turns that make up this circuit, he's now through turn 16 and halfway through those allotted numbers. Tips it in at 17, he'll pull the car up at Arnage, which will be the next right-hand corner. And from there, just the Porsche and Ford chicanes and the Corvette curves to navigate.
So Brody Gunter going to work his way into the more permanent purpose-built sections of the racetrack for the final time tonight. Gunter is a driver that has been so dominant in just about every single race that this man has managed to run. I mean, it has been one of those things where he is just on fire everywhere he goes. He has admittedly not had a season to remember. He's only gotten 1 win this season. He is looking, though, to change that as he'll work his way into the final series of corners. Bit of a heart attack there for a brief moment. But man, what a night for Brody Gunter. He will work his way through. And Brody Gunter takes win number 36 of his SRA Sunday Night Cup Series career. And what a drive. Sorry, make that win number 13. Holy cow. Incredible stuff for Brody Gunter.
Great job. Really nice and consistent. I think it would have been a little touch closer than that. He was very patient with racing Alex Howland and gave him a lot more room. He was definitely quicker than him on the long run, so could have been a touch closer, but for this battle pack, it's not quite over yet. You can just see Krinke making a touch of a mistake on the run down to Indianapolis here on the left-hander.
Seven-tenths of a second. Game's not over. Ellison can still get back to Krinke if he makes a last-minute mistake.
And with pressure coming on, the biggest thing is you got to keep applying that pressure. You cannot let him run away. Even though you're not quicker than him, if you can just stay in touch. Krinke has definitely made a few errors here tonight, and I think that's Ellison a touch hot. Entering the Porsche curves was a touch hot, but you got the car pulled up nicely.
Out of the Porsche curves into Corvette. And setting us up for the Maison Blanche for the final time tonight. And that will take us into the forward curves, and that will allow for Mark Krinke to hold on to that 5th place spot through the Ford chicane, provided he can make it through these last 2 corners and make it through. He will do just that. Mark Krinke wins the battle for 5th.
A good result from him. Really, really good result. Joe Williams has actually had a really quick final lap as well. He's going to take a huge chunk of time out of these guys in the final lap. So, I mean, you know, a little bit of a mistake in missing pit lane. It would have been 5th spot for him. It would have been a great finish, but, you know, sometimes the hardest thing is actually to keep focus in these longer races. It's very, very important that.
Yes, sir. For Rutherford, you saw he dropped the tail end. Looked like he had one last issue throughout his race. And Carson George, Travis Fleming would, I do believe, be the last pair to close out their races. And Fleming being the last car on the racetrack that we're waiting on to cross the line as of right now.
We got 3 actually still out there. Josh Rutherford, I think, still circulating, and then you've also got Nick Batista and Carson George, who have yet to make the finish line. So, final corner. For Rutherford, he'll be disappointed in blue screen at the start of the race.
There is Batista with the WeatherTech number 67 Chevy Camaro. We'll pick up 8th. That leaves George. And lastly, Fleming.
Here comes final couple of corners as well. Yeah, good race all around. To be perfectly honest, that was a lot more entertaining. I was expecting it to be a little bit of a snooze fest because Le Mans can certainly drag out that way, but I think the best decision to cut out the chicanes on the backstretch. I actually like that decision for this series because it kept the cars a little bit closer together. So it was actually a great day.
It was a great day indeed, and well, with Brody Gunter taking his 13th win of the Cup Series, we'll look to take a rundown of official post-race results here this afternoon. It is Brody Gunter for the 510 Racing number 01, taking home the victory this afternoon by 32.5 seconds over Joshua Hickey. Moving on down through the field, it's Alex Howland to pick up 3rd, Garcia in 4th, Krinke in 5th, and it was Paul Ellison, Jared Williams, Nick Batista, Carson George, and Travis Fleming for the top 10, and they were the last drivers on the lead lap.
And there on back, Corey Rutherford at 1 down, Josh Rutherford with the issues he's experienced at 3 down. Dylan Grootsmarker popping an engine that finishes 6 down. Matthew Croak, something happened to him because he all of a sudden was done for that. That's right, never mind. We saw it was coming onto the Mulsanne. 12 laps down. Casey Campbell entered the server, did make the start. starting park for him, and Brian Bonneau unable to take the start of the race.
Well, all that said and done, we'll give it a chance to give a chit chat here to the drivers that come home this afternoon, and let's kick it off first and foremost with the driver of the 510 Racing, number 01 of Brody Gunter. We can track down where the driver of the 01 is. Always likes to hide from us at the tail end. There he is. Let's drag him up here into the broadcast booth, as it is Brody Gunter taking home win number 13 of his Sunday night racing career. And Brody, had a bit of a walk-off on this one, to put it mildly, over half a minute clear of Joshua Hickey, and 2 seconds of those came after just one lap. Walk us through it.
I'm just happy to make it to the finish. For once in the last couple of weeks with minor technical issues throughout. I mean, not getting disconnected finally was really nice. Even though it was really taunting me the entire race, constantly yelling about packet loss and latency warnings, but at least I finally made it to the end. I feel like I've had the couple races stolen from me, to not even like wins, just races in general. Just the fact I didn't get the race auto club really. I didn't even make it halfway at Minesville, so happy to finally, get a race in. What a very fun track car combination. I didn't think this was going to be as fun as I thought it was going to be. The setup and car handled very well for a lot of the very technical section of this track. Surprisingly, for like a NASCAR without that much downforce. To me, the most sketchy section was the backstretch on new tires.
Well, it was still a good race overall from you. You did pretty much everything right. Ran an absolutely flawless race. Led every single lap from start to finish. It was the last road course race, though, of the season, and we are gearing up for the last few races as well in the regular series season. What do you reckon's in store for you these next 2 weeks?
Well, if I can have more races like this where no technical issues, I hope good things, but if it's like Auto Club and Minesville the last couple of weeks, probably, not finishing, but I don't know, just, like I said, just try to show up and do the best I can for what I have and what I can do with experience like the track and stuff. Only doing, I think in total, 2 laps before the session I did that they hosted last night, low practice, that's all I really did, so 2 plus whatever that is, but like I came this track very quickly, like you said, ran a pretty much perfect race on pole at every lap. I think even got 0x in fastest lap, I believe. So I will take it. Hopefully I can keep reeling in the points lead on Heggie.
Well, wish you the best of luck when we go racing next week. Congratulations on your 13th ASRL win, and we'll see you next week. In 2 weeks,
next week's Easter, though. Yes.
Brody Gunter comes home number 1 this afternoon for the 510 Racing crew, and that will move us on down to ESGI Motorsports' Joshua Hickey, the Season 1 champion and current points leader, standing by with Scott Rankin.
Yeah, Josh, tricky race, particularly in that first segment there, and I absolutely wanted to check in with you at that first pit stop. Little mistake with controller bindings. How did you manage it for the rest of the night and the rest of the pit stops?
Well, I know I was probably a little bit off in pace, and before the race knew there's a few spots where I could probably close that gap, and probably the only time I would probably have a chance is at the end with the worn tires. Maybe I would save a little bit at the end to catch him, but since I messed up that first pit stop, I recently made a key binding with this car, and just the clutch got stuck at, I had the clutch pedal in, it was stuck at 50%, and it just would die every time I tried to start it. And just killed it like 3 or 4 times before I got out of there, and, by then he had such a margin to work with. I think he took 2 sets looking at the relatives, so he just had a good margin to work with, and just not make any mistakes, and that's about it.
Look, we got an off week next week before we start heading to the final couple rounds before we enter the playoffs. It's been a relatively consistent season, I think, for you, but there's not really been any fireworks or any big bang moments. Is that something you want to check off before we hit the playoffs?
Yeah, once the playoffs get here, it's kind of crazy. I'm still trying to decide if I like the format like this. I've only done it the last, I think, 2 seasons. It's pretty interesting.
Right, brother. And just looking ahead, I mean, next time out, we're off to Japan. So we go from France to Japan. Then we start to circle back to the US of A. Motegi Oval. Very reminiscent of Gateway, but she's wider at one end and shorter at the other. How you feel the confidence levels heading into there?
Little teardrop shape. I've not done too many races there, just like this track, and so I'll just figure it out as I go. It was kind of fun. I like doing the road courses here. I wasn't quite as strong as this one as I thought I might be, but yeah, I'm ready. And if anybody wants to, we got the 2 recruitment races for the Wednesday Road Series. If anybody wants to join that, come on over. Thanks for Purple Haze Autosport, ESGI. And I think me and Renee got a pretty good finish today, so congrats to them. Congrats to Alex, he got a good finish. Oh, and one last thing. If Scott was in this race, he would have beat all our asses.
Don't inflate his ego too much.
So there's backstory going on with that, and it was the fact that Gunter yesterday during the practice session was like, "Well, I'm out. I'm on top of the board," and I'm like, "Hold up! I'm just putting a lap here together. Thank you." No, there was a lot of banter. I love these guys, so you always got to have a bit of a laugh with them. And yeah. Casually, I did manage to slip it in during the broadcast, Josh. Don't you worry. There was absolutely a.
There you go.
Maybe I'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you in 2 weeks' time, brother.
So that was Joshua.
Finally, we'll take a.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Finally, we take a step down to the final step off of the rostrum, and allow me to introduce Nolan Rempel standing alongside of third place finisher Alex Howland.
Alex, one of the best finishes that you've had all season long. It was a solid outing for you this afternoon, but a very, very unique experience that we had this afternoon. Walk us through your perspective of this race here at Le Mans.
I don't know. I think it kind of went as expected. It seems to be the same result on all the road races. Brody was way faster than me again, so I did the best I could to just keep it clean. Threw away my 0x race in the last lap, but it was fun.
Well, despite things going the way they did, it was, like you say, a very solid race overall. Third place, hard to complain. You're one of 4 drivers that didn't move from where you from where you qualified in this one. Kind of walk us through the championship hopes for you as we enter the final 3 races here of the regular series season.
Well, I think I'm locked into the playoffs. I'm pretty sure. So, and then the points kind of reset at the end of the season. I know we get allotted like a staggered difference in points, so where I finish in championship points will help, but I mean ultimately the biggest goal is making it through, and I think I already did that, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, it's going to be one major difference in racetracks that we usually race at straight to another. Mobility Resort Motegi comes on up. What do you reckon is going to be in store for the next 130 laps in 2 weeks' time?
That one should be interesting. I think, if I remember correctly, it's a short, relatively flat track. So it should be fun. I'm sorry I missed Martinsville. That's one of my favorites. So maybe this will be something like that.
All right, well, we'll see you then in 2 weeks, Alex. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
Alex comes home third this afternoon, and Scott, that will put a close on racing action here this afternoon. Like you said, is right about what we expected to see out of this race, and well, 1 week break, and then we're going to be back with another one coming on up in just a while.
Yeah, and I mean, this was fun. Incredibly difficult race that we had going on board here tonight. So, you know, there was a lot of mistakes up and down the field, missing shifts, trying to shift to 5th gear, but also the mistakes. It was, the thing is, the setup was actually quite good to drive. A lot of grip in all the sections where I was a little bit concerned about it. But yeah, it actually drove very, very well. So yeah, big shout out to Tim Watson Racing Setups for giving us a great platform to actually go racing on. I was very, very impressed, shall we say, with how that drove.
Well, coming on up over the next little while, we've still got more race action coming on up on Monday afternoon, where we will go racing with the Atlanta Motor Speedway for the High-Tide Racing Garden Premier Series on Tuesday. The Old ASRL Cup Series is out at Talladega. The PSR Sim Game Expo Truck Series will take to Rockingham alongside the Beer League on Wednesday afternoon, where they will go racing over at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time for their 11th season. The Chicago Street Course will play host to round number 10 for the Speed Cup Series, with the SRA NAS Classic Series tentatively hosting their SRA Shootout on Saturday night, with Blazing Pedals back for more next weekend, whereas, well, we are going to be off for Easter when it comes to racing action here over for ASRL. In the meantime, want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. My name is Benola Rempel alongside Scott Rankin. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week, in 2 weeks, when we go racing over in Japan.